So guys, we're on here. We're actually on to our final question. Would you believe it? We're on to question 9. It's worth 45 marks. Okay, financial maths. So again, this is a bit of exam technique kind of advice here for any exam, particularly leaving cert higher level maths. But towards the end of the paper, you might be starting to kind of to tire a bit. Okay, but you guys keep hanging on in there. This question here is relatively straightforward to get into. Okay, it says John and Mary have decided to start saving to buy a house. Mary's parents offer to give them €10,000 now, or to give it to them in a few years' time when they purchase the house. Okay, explain why they should take the money now, referring to the concept of the present value of money in your answer. So, okay, here is an answer. Okay, this doesn't have to be the answer. The present value is the concept that an amount of money today is worth more than that same amount of money in the future. In other words, money received in the future is not worth as much as as the equal amount received today. Therefore, €10,000 now is worth more than €10,000 in a few years' time. And you can answer that in a couple of different ways. I let Andrea give it a bit more detail here on the marking scheme, but you can mention that, like, because if you get money now and you put it into the bank, you're going to earn interest. Or you can say that €10,000 in the future, well, that's going to have the value that is going to have decreased because of depreciation. And that is a 10-mark question.
So this one's marked on a 0, 5, 10 scale. So 5 marks would be any comment at all about money being more valuable now. Okay, so if the reason you get partial credit as opposed to full credit would be if there's no detail. So if you just wrote down more valuable now, that was it. You're not commenting enough there if you're saying that. Okay, so it needs to have some form of comment with it, but you're looking for the partial credit, that would be all you'd need, is something like more valuable now. That would be fine. To get the full credit, you're looking for something that goes into slightly more detail and you've got more of a actual sentence, a comment going on. So something like the example we've given, you could say something about if you receive the money now, it would be less, in the future, it'd be less valuable because of inflation. Something like that puts it into a context and compares now and then is how you're getting the full credit for the 10 marks.
Perfect, Andrea. And again, I bet you there's a student out there now, and more than one. You're looking at it now and you're thinking, oh, why didn't I write something down for that? Because, at the end of a paper, maybe this was your last question, you're not sure. You're not maybe sure about it. You haven't done much financial maths. But I think now when you look at the answer, you could say to yourself, you could have got those 10 marks if you never did financial maths at leaving cert higher level. Okay, so that's the advice. You got to stick on in there. You got to get something down on paper. Okay, find an investment which pays 8% annual equivalent rate for regular savers. Okay, no, they find the investment. Okay, so they find that. What is the equivalent monthly compound interest rate as an 8% AER, annual equivalent rate? Give your answer correct to 4 decimal places. So, those of you who know me know that I call this key skill 1. If you look at the financial maths questions that I came up, most financial maths questions have this skill in there at some point. And what we're using here is the compound interest formula. F is equal to P times 1 plus I to the power of T. And what I'd say here, I'll just write this little bit here. I'd say €1 in today's money will be worth €1.08 after 12 months. It's 1 year, so 12 months at a monthly interest rate I, and you must find I. So that's how we're getting this line over here. So 1 plus I to the power of 12 is equal to 1.08. You get the 12th root of 1.08. You subtract your 1 from that. We're going to get our answer here as a decimal. Okay, so I as a decimal. But we want it as a rate, so it has to be a percentage, correct to 4 decimal places. So my answer is 0.6434, and that is 10 marks again.
So this one's marked on a 0, 4, 8, 10 scale. So low partial credit is using that correct formula with some substitution. So if you have some substitution into that correct formula, you would have low partial credit here for 4 marks. High partial credit would be a correct approach. So you're working right, but you made a mistake, or you failed to get it at a percentage. So if you left it at the 0.006434, etc., that would be high partial credit. This question is starred, which means there are 9 marks available if your rounding is incorrect. So if you do everything but you round incorrectly, say you had 0.6435 or something like that, you just made a mistake on the rounding, you could get 9 marks there.
And we know they did it. We know that in question 9, as you're tiring, there could be an issue with the rounding. Andrew, let me just ask you to confirm with the percentage sign. They don't actually need that for full marks, do they?
No.
Okay. It is because if they have it written as 0.6434, they have changed it into a percent. So it's not, they're better to put it in, but they don't need it. Am I saying that correctly?
Absolutely, yeah. The 0.6434 is where you're getting the full credit.
Okay, perfect. So we've got 20 marks so far, okay, and we haven't done a whole pile of maths. So, if you've been, some of you will be quite happy with how you're going so far on this question. So let's see how John and Mary are doing. At the end of each month, they decide they're going to save €500. So we got to be careful with the wording here. At the end of each month, okay, at the end of each month, they deposit €500 into an account that pays an annual equivalent rate of 8%. Okay, so they're talking about the yearly interest rate of 8%, but we know they're saving it each month, so we're going to have to convert back to months. What will the value of their savings be after 5 years, correct to the nearest cent? Okay, so let's lay this out. First things first, we're talking about 60 payments, okay? Because there's going to be 5 years, and there's going to be 12 months in each year. I think we all know that bit, the 12 months in each year. Okay, we have our interest rate as a percentage, but of course we're going to have to put that back as a decimal when we put it in. Again, you can see here I've highlighted at the end of each month. Now, what we have on the screen here, I always describe this, we're still talking about financial maths in this moment, okay? I'm gonna label this as your first payment. There's going to be a second payment, obviously, all the way down here to your last payment, which is going to be payment 60. I'm going to talk about why it's written out like this now in one moment. Okay, so this is payment 59, and this would be payment 58. So there'll be a payment 2 back here, which would be to the power of 58. Okay, so if we just talk about payment 60 and why we write it, it's the first term here in the sequence. We're going to talk about sequence series now in a second. But that €500 right there was lodged into the bank on the final day of the final month of this investment. It didn't earn any interest. It just went into the bank, and that what they would say is the investment matured that day, and it was drawn down with earning no interest. Okay. So €500 is just €500. If I look at payment 59, which was his second last payment, that was actually in the bank for 1 month. It earned interest for 1 compounding period. If I go all the way back to payment 1, €500 was lodged in at the end of the first month. It stayed in the bank for 59 compounding periods, and so therefore that is how we're going to get the value of that 500 times 1.006434. Now, what's about to happen is what I call key skill number 2. So key skill number 2, and key skill number 2 in financial maths is when you go from a financial maths question, which we just have here, we're talking about John and Mary, and we go into sequences and series. And when we go to sequence series, we no longer care about the fact that they're payments. Okay, we're not thinking about John and Mary in the house. We're just thinking about the fact that in the sequence, the way I've laid it out, this is term 1, this is term 2, all the way over to term 60. Okay, term 3 is this guy here. What we're saying is this: the first term is A, so A is my term 1, so it's 500. Or, as we know, can be gotten from, let me just write this up here, R is equal to term 2 divided by term 1. Okay, so when I get that, it's 1.006434. Okay, and N is 60. Why is 60? Because there are 60 terms in this sequence. So I'm just going to say a little bit more about this, because I know there's going to be people have a little bit of a question mark here. Some people will have written 59 in for N. but no, there are 60 terms in the sequence, not 59. Okay, there's 60 terms in there, not 59 if you have a look at it. Why is you could say that, why is R, so I just write R back up here, why is R 1.006434? Well, if you divide, the way we have laid it out, if you divide term 2 by term 1, you get 1.006434. Now, some of you may have written it the other way around, that's absolutely fine. Where you could write payment 1 as term 1, that's fine. And when you lay it out that way, then R would be equal to 1 divided by 1.006434. That's fine. The way we have it, it's an increasing sequence, so R is a number greater than 1. The other way around, it's a decreasing sequence, so R would be 1 all over 1.006434. Okay, I work it out, and I get an answer of 36,472.2909. And of course, we want it to the nearest cent, so just 29 cents. And that's 10 marks again.
So that one's marked on a 0, 4, 6, 8, 10 scale. So low partial credit here is for some work of merit taking you towards the correct kind of working. So if you had the sum formula with something substituted incorrectly, or you identified the different parts needed to go in, so you identified N was 60 and what the ratio was and what A was, all of that would be work of merit towards this question. So that would be worth 4 marks. Mid-partial credit for 6 marks here is a correct approach, but fails to reach an answer. So an example of that might be that you had the sequence written out, you knew you had to use a sum formula, but you didn't substitute in. So you had the working that was steps along to get the right answer, but you then, for some reason, you stopped, you didn't complete the question. High partial credit here for 8 marks. It reaches an answer, but 1 or 2 mistakes. So an example of that could be you had 59 instead of 60 in your sum formula. So like Owen just said, that was a mistake that could come up. Something like that would class as 1 mistake. Another mistake might have been that you accidentally tapped in one of the numbers wrong, or you wrote the rate wrong down, or something along those lines. But 1 or 2 mistakes and the rest of the working okay would get you high partial credit in this question. So that would be 8 marks. This question is starred again. So that means that incorrect rounding is worth 9 marks. So if you did everything right, but you round incorrectly, it is worth 9 marks here.
Okay. So thanks, Andrea. Again, with the financial maths, you just got to keep an eye on it because oftentimes it is to the nearest cent. Okay, so John and Mary are also saving to purchase a car. They wish to have 5,000 euros in their savings account to make this purchase in 3 years' time. The savings account also has an equivalent annual rate of 8%. You might notice sometimes it can say AER, sometimes it can say EAR. And again, it's just a different way of saying the same thing. How much do they have to deposit in their account at the end of each month in order to have 5,000 euros after 3 years? Give your answer correct to the nearest cent. Okay. So again, what are we saying here? In this case, it's the investment, if you want to think about it like that, the savings is going to take place for 36 months, 3 years. Now, in this case, we don't know how much they're going to save each month, so we're going to call it A. It's the same logic as we had in the previous example. We'll call this payment 1. Sorry, I'm going to call this payment 36. Payment 36 is your final payment. That's A. So A euros goes into the bank at the end of each month. So that one is going to go in at the end of the last month of the savings policy. It's not going to earn any interest because it's going to mature that day. That's going to be the end of that savings. This guy here would be payment 35. He would have been in the bank for 1 month, 1 whole month, earning interest for 1 month. So that's why it's power 1. If I go all the way back here to payment 1, that was lodged in at the end of the first month. It earned interest for 35 months. So that's why it's the power 35. Now, this is a geometric series, of course, and the sum of that geometric series is equal to 5,000 euros. Again, you could have them ordered the other way around, starting with payment 1, going all the way to payment 36, and that's also fine. It is a geometric series. So again, this is what I call key skill 2. When you go from financial maths into sequences of series. And when you go into sequences of series, you're no longer worried about the car. You're just looking at what is A, what is R, what is M. Okay. So in this case, lowercase a is capital A. Okay, so the first term of the series is A. The common ratio again, this is term 1, this is term 2, this would be term 36. The common ratio R is term 2 divided by term 1. Okay. N is 36. Okay, and the sum of the 36 terms is 5,000. So, as I always say with financial maths, there are 4 unknowns. In this case, we'll say SN, A, R, and N. Okay, you fill in what you can, and you're usually just left with 1. So usually one that you need to find. So in this case, it's capital A that we're looking for. That is our unknown. Everything else is filled in, so we're solving an equation. So that means we're isolating the variable. So, I'm going to rearrange it. I'm going to multiply across by the 1 minus 1.006434, and then I'm going to divide by the coefficient, which is on A, the 1 minus 1.006434 to the power 36, and I'm going to get an answer for that. So 123.86. In this case, you're going to be rounding upwards, so it's 123 euros 87 cents, and that is 15 marks at the end.
So on this one, we're looking at a 0, 5, 8, 12, 15 scale. So low partial credit here is some work of merit. So again, that would be forming your sequence. It would be identifying that you're using the rate and how many months you're using it for, any step that gets you towards the correct answer. For mid partial credit here, it's identifying the correct value for your ratio and your different things that you're subbing into your sequence. Okay, so if you identify that what you're looking for is A, that you have what the correct ratio is, that your N is 36, all of those things would get you mid partial credit for this one. And high partial credit, which is your 12 marks, would be a correct approach. And with all the steps right, but for whatever reason you haven't got to the final line, or you have got that final answer, but you've made 1 or 2 mistakes again. So you might have used 35 instead of 36 or something along those lines. That would get you high partial credit for 12 marks. This question is starred as well, so 14 marks are available if you round incorrectly.
Okay, and we all know that 1 mark could be the difference in a grade. So you don't want to have lost out on, potentially a H1 or a H3 or whichever your grade is by having 0.86 at the end. You have to have it correct. Okay, would you believe it? We're at the end of our exam. There's 300 marks allocated. So your job now is to go back to the front of the paper, put in your marks for the individual questions, and when you're ready, then you're going to input your results into the app, which is going to be on the computer. And obviously, you're going to see yourself what is your final grade. Naturally, we hope that you're happy with how you've done in this exam. It was not an easy exam. What we were looking for was challenging but fair. But as we now know, there's a long time between now and the Leaving Cert. So look, you have a lot of time to improve on this grade, and you can do that just as long as you keep working. So Andrea, I'd just like to say thank you very much for going through the marking scheme there with everybody, and we hope that has clarified it for people. Andrea, can you think of any last thing to say to the students?
No, I just think similar to Owen, take this as a positive thing that you've been through this experience and you've looked at what areas of weakness you have and so on, and you do have quite a long time to be able to work on these things. So just come out of this knowing what it is you need to work on and what you can do to improve your grade going forward.
And of course, we know there's people out there who are asking themselves, should I get mid partial credit or low partial credit for a particular question? And so if you look at the email we've sent you out, you're going to see what to do there. You're going to send us an email with a screenshot of what you're talking about, or a picture of what you're talking about from your workings, and we're going to get back to you, and we might well address your question in a recorded video just like this that we put up on our website, just in relation to answering your question. Okay. On that note, guys, I'm going to wish you the very best of luck going forward. course, we have our pre-paper 2 coming up as well, and so we'll be in contact with that. But listen, go outside and enjoy the sunshine for the next while, and mind yourselves out there. Okay, good luck to you.